I know I'm way late on this. Blame Steam sales for getting me to binge the entire Trails in the Sky trilogy in just over 2 weeks. I guess if people really wanted, I could make a video explaining my thoughts on the series so far, because I know a lot of Xeno fans like that too. But that's not what we're talking about, because Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition got a patch that wasn't the release date patch, and, well, I don't know if this is going to become a regular thing, but I figured why not resurrect the good old Xenoblade patch review series for old time's sake, if any of you are still around since those times. So, released July 8th, version 1.1.2. Let's see what actual changes this brought to Definitive Edition. This is listed in a bit of a different way than all the 2 ones were. It's feature changes, spec adjustments, lockups, and other fixes. So, I guess it's like direct changes to the gameplay itself, and spec adjustments is some type of bug fixes. Then lockups are, I guess, either soft locks or just straight crashes, and other fixes are other things. I don't know. There's a weird amount of bleed over between the categories, so I'm just going to go in order and say what I say about it. So, feature changes. Changing the tutorial notifications and notification settings to don't notify will now cause recommendations to try casual mode not to appear. So, enemies too tough, why not try casual mode? Press minus after every time you die. I think even to fall damage. You can turn that off now. Unfortunately, that means you won't be seeing, I guess, the actual tutorials. Although that might be the tutorial pop-ups for the status conditions instead. That would make more sense, because you'd still need to learn how to actually play for playing through it the first time. And then, some of the exclamation icons appearing on the area map and in the field while using travel guidance can now be disabled. Disabling them will remove them from enemies and collectibles concerning the quest. However, they will still appear above the quest-giving NPC as usual. So, if you set travel guidance to hide, enemies and materials for monster and collection quests will disappear, but NPCs you need to talk to will still show up on the map. So if you accepted like all the generic monster quests and gathering quests for one area, then looked at the map of the big field and saw that it was all exclamation points, that's basically going to stop that. It's sort of to, I guess it might even help avoid people's anxiety who want to 100% everything, but then they see all those things that need to be done when, like, maybe you only need to kill 2 enemies, but there are 8 enemies that spawn on the map at one time, so there's 8 exclamation points, but you only actually need to take care of 2 of them. Stuff like that. Spec adjustments. Starting New Game Plus after lowering character levels in New Game Plus settings could cause the number of affinity coins held to decrease. This has occurred, loading save data will apply the correct amount. It's a bug with affinity coins. Then, unfortunately, they also fixed the affinity coin underflow bug, which I don't remember how you did it, but it involved using expert mode and New Game Plus, where you would, I forget exactly what it did, but in some way, you leveling down caused the number of affinity coins you had to underflow, and you ended up with like 65,000 coins at the beginning of the game, and I think either you couldn't get many more and it would go back to 0, or you could just get even more than that. I don't remember, but that was fixed. Another thing that was fixed was attack intervals for some characters. It says Shulk, Rein, and Nene are unaffected. Rein and Nene, I mean, they have virtually the same art animations. Nene's Lariat is 3 hits instead of Rein's 1 hit. People say, oh, Kino and Nene have more differences than that from Rein and Charlotte, but that's the only one anyone's ever directly said. So, I never really noticed it because I never play as either Rein or Nene. I played all of Future Connected as Shulk and Melia because they're actually engaging and fun to play as, and as much as I love Kino, I'm not playing through even a 10-hour game as Charla. Anyway, it says that the attack intervals when affected by slow have been slowed and quickened while affected with haste. Basically, to make it more easy to tell if your character is hastened or slowed, the auto attack rate will change more. I mean, this could technically make haste better on characters that aren't Shulk, Rein, or Nene, which, like, 7 is already really good with haste. And then it also says, fix an issue after a boss fight in Chapter 16 where 3-slot weapons will become 2-slot weapons. This is updated, an addendum to the patch notes on July 14th. We initially wrote that we fixed the issue of all equipped gems being removed, but unfortunately we had not fixed the issue in the case that equipped gems were removed when the maximum number of items was being carried. Our apologies for the correction. Okay, that's a very fringe case that, sure, not a big deal. But basically, this is talking about that one boss fight in Chapter 16 where you're playing as the 7th party member who has a unique weapon that's there just for that boss fight. Basically, there were some screwy-uppy things with their normally equipped weapon. It gets overridden with the special weapon for that boss fight, and that could screw up the gems and potentially change the amount of slots on the weapon. There were bugs related to that. I think it might have been possible to permanently lose gems due to this, which is bad. So that's fixed. That's good. And then the last issue is switching the BGM between arranged and original wouldn't affect engage the enemy. And engage the enemy is now with field BGM settings in the options. I think this has to do with the fact that most of the themes that weren't significantly rearranged were cutscene themes. Engage the enemy is a cutscene theme that was rearranged because it's so iconic. So there weren't really, I guess, it got caught up because it wasn't really a field theme or a battle theme. So it wasn't properly implemented into the toggle, but now it's considered a field theme, which doesn't really make sense because I think there's at least one boss fight where engage the enemy does play for the actual fighting at some point, but whatever. Lockups. Fixed a lockup that occurred when being close to the quest clear dialogue during clearing obstructions after Ryan's level rose to 16 after beating 3 zealous arachnos. That seems like a very fringe case, but okay. You can now safely level Ryan to level 16 while completing clearing obstructions and beating 3 zealous arachnos. Fixed a lockup that sometimes occurred when battling Nero Andos. Fixed an issue that caused the player to sometimes become uncontrollable when attempting to trade with an NPC who disappeared during the passage of time. That's actually, I could definitely see why that would be a bug, because if the NPC disappears while you're in the trading menu or while you hit the trade button, I could see why that would screw something up. And I love reading these patch notes because these talk about bugs that existed that I didn't know about until I read the patch notes, if that makes any sense. Fixed an issue that caused the player to become uncontrollable when falling off a ledge just before seeing a vision from a collectible. Like, I would have never had that happen. It's just so weird things that I don't even know how they found these. I guess a lot of people have bought the game. Then another lockup that occurred when changing gems or the time on the main menu during the interval in the last battle. Yes, something resembling this happened to me. I died on like phase 2 of the final boss, and then the game crashed, which kicked me back to the point of no return before the final boss, because unlike Future Connected 2 and Torna, I don't think this point of no return requires you to save. So, well, I had an autosave, so that wasn't awful, but still, save your game normally, even without the autosave. Pro tip. Fixed a lockup that occurred when bringing up information dialogue and pressing the minus button to call up help at the same time. I mean, sure, if it tries to load 2 text boxes at the same time, things get screwed up. And fixed an issue that caused characters to be in the topple status when an event scene and a vision prompted by a collectible item would occur at the same time. I don't know. I guess if you grab a collectible while you're walking over the trigger for a cutscene, your characters would be placed in topple when you got out of it, which I don't know what that means at all. Does the being toppled override the cutscene? Because that would have been an interesting skip that might help speedrunning, because they made the Tephra Cave skip harder, and I don't think the kill yourself command is in this game like it is in 2. But then other fixes, which are all described as fixed an issue when something happened. Fixed an issue that caused the quest to become unacceptable when changing to a different event or changing the time when talking to an NPC. Fixed an issue where if the controlled character were cheered up and HP was restored at the same time they lost consciousness, they would lose consciousness with that amount of HP remaining. That seems bad because it would put your characters in limbo. Fixed an issue where travel guidance wouldn't display correctly during the quest Minato Replica 5. I didn't notice that happening. I did all of the Minato Replica quests in my playthrough of Definitive Edition, which I have not done a second playthrough of because I've been binging the Trail series. Thanks, Steam sales. Fixed an issue where selecting art simultaneously with being dazed would cause the character to be stuck in the fainting motion. It seems like these are a lot of Definitive Edition exclusive bugs that just kind of happened with porting the systems over from Wii framework to Switch framework and the new graphics engine. So I don't remember most of these being in the original game. Like, I think they finally fixed the damage range glitch this time, but that was, like, the only really substantial bug in the original version that, like, actually needed to be fixed in Definitive Edition. Like, they didn't even completely fix the Tephra Cave skip, I think. They did change the jumping a bit, which made things a bit less exploitable, but, like, they kept the ice physics the same, so, you know, they didn't really change too much. Fixed an issue where accepting a quest with the Weapon Development Lab at its designation would cause the travel guidance route not to appear. Again, I've never seen that. Fixed an issue where loading an autosave after hearing a quest acceptance conversation would cause quest progress already seen to return to that before having heard the conversation. That's not worded very well. Fixed an issue that caused battles with Gentle Mother Armu, Baby Armus, and Deluded Ignis to be disengaged too early. Okay, I guess that means they just, like, changed the detection range of those enemies to how they were supposed to be from the original. I've had a lot more issues in DE than in the original game with enemies just, like, spontaneously disengaging and battles ending. Like, previously, it just happened when most of the time when I was dying while trying to run away from enemies, where instead of, like, being killed and sent back to the last landmark, I'd pass out, then immediately be revived at 1 HP with the enemies losing focus. And I think a couple species of enemies, especially the water ones, would spontaneously disengage, but it happened a lot more just in random settings in this playthrough, so I find it weird that they only fixed issues like that for 3 enemy types. Maybe they did actually do it for more, and those are the only ones listed. I'm not sure. Fixed an issue where changing the control of the character while climbing a wall would cause the character to fall through the wall. That seems like a very good speedrunning type skip that they just patched out, so that's unfortunate. Fixed an issue where the BGM wouldn't play during certain event scenes. That's important. Fixed an issue where in Chapter 9, all the Mechon fight with the Lias on Prison Island, viewing Prison Island from Earthsea would show the battle effects, but they weren't visible from Alchemoth. Okay, that's just, we forgot to put the effects in, so we put the effects in. Fixed an issue that caused leveling up after defeating an enemy with a chain attack to cause the numeric display of the level to appear strange. I want to know what that means. Did it display in a different font or something? Because you defeated an enemy with a chain attack, there are chain attack related fonts and, like, the damage numbers and stuff. I don't know. Although the added, and last thing, this does not say fixed an issue. No, it does say, it's just not the first words of the sentence. Never mind. Although the added damage would function properly, fixed an issue that caused the damage displayed on screen to appear 256 points lower than the actual value, when the additional damage value of added attack gems would surpass 256. So, you can escape 256 damage number issues, apparently. Although this one was actually fixed. And, yeah, this is a fine patch. There's still a few quality of life related things like tracking Colony 6 collectibles and other additional bugs and weird stuff going on that I would love to see fixed in future patches, but I don't think they're going to put as much effort into fixing this game as they did Xenoblade 2, because 2 had issues of being rushed and understaffed, so they had to actually polish the game and get it up to the standards of what they wanted to initially release it as before all that stuff went down. While this one seemed to release fine and on time, it was just a smaller scope project, so certain quality of life things will probably remain unfixed. Although, I'm guessing if any other major bugs are discovered, the game will be updated again. So, while I think this is the last time you'll see me doing a patch review for a very long time, probably until the next Xenoblade game, if there's more, I'll talk about them. And as always, until next time, this is Luxon, signing off.